All right, we're back. Final round. We still have Rick here playing Mardu Midrange against George. Now, last time we saw George, he was playing Soul Herder, but for today, he is playing the new Elementals deck. I say new; it's relatively new. At this point, it's a couple weeks old, but it's relatively. I mean, technically, it's even older than that, because Elementals has been a thing for a long ass time. But it was never really playable. Never really good. But with the new Evoke Elemental cycle coming in, the deck has definitely gotten a significant upgrade. On Math, is also just a fantastic card in the deck. But nothing yet. We have Rick coming in with a Ragavan. We have a Fury being exiled off the Ragavan. Now, he's not going to be able to cast the Fury, unfortunately. But those get rid of it. I think Fury is definitely a good exile here. We saw Rick's deck playing a bunch of just 1 toughness, 2 toughness things. Mostly Seasoned Pyromancer tokens, let's be honest. But yeah, Fury is definitely something you don't mind seeing leave. Now, George revealing a hand of 2 lands, an Ephemerate, 2 Risen Reef, and an Unsettled Mariner. The Unsettled Mariner makes this a bit awkward, because Rick is holding double Prismatic Ending, which means that he's... No, actually, wait... Yeah, no, because of the wording of the Mariner. I was thinking of Thalia, which just makes the cards 1 mana more expensive, which, thanks to X-Spell Trickery, ends up just being the same mana cost as it was before. But that doesn't work with Unsettled Mariner. Unsettled Mariner just straight up says, whenever you target, pay 1 or it gets countered, which means that even with the X-Spell of Prismatic Ending, you're gonna have to pay an extra 1. So it's gonna be 2 mana to get rid of the Mariner, plus 1 mana to pay for the Mariner tax. Just really awkward, and probably really good for George here, because this Unsettled Mariner, given the hand of Rick, is probably gonna have to be... It's gonna have to be dealt with. Because if you don't, then suddenly there's a Risen Reef on the field, and at that point you're just up shit creek. You're not doing anything. So that's gonna be red and the black. Not exactly how that works. Sure, close enough. Anyway, it's gonna get rid of the Mariner. Ragavan comes in, down to 16. Exiles a Risen Reef, which... is that a 2 mana or 3 mana? I mean... Actually, let me look up the wording here of Risen Reef. Does Risen Reef work off the elementals made by... What's his name? Seasoned Pyromancer? Yeah, I think Risen Reef actually works off the elemental tokens from Seasoned Pyromancer. That's funny. I love that. But it's also 3 mana, which means Rick couldn't actually cast it. But that might become relevant in the future. I hope that becomes relevant. I so hope that becomes relevant, that Rick just plays one of George's Risen Reefs and then plays a Seasoned Pyromancer, and suddenly we're were getting just absurd amounts of value off of that. That would make me so happy. Like, that, I would be beside myself if we saw that. So, Rick from the past, just make this happen. I need this. The people watching need this, Rick. Make it happen. Three mana is gonna flash in an endurance. That's not what you want to be seeing. Looks like Rick is holding Swamp, Magmatic Channeler, and still the other prismatic ending, right? Yeah. So Rick's graveyard is gonna get shuffled to the bottom, which is potentially very relevant if Rick finds a Kroxa, which we saw last match. We have Magmatic Channeler coming out. Been a while since I've seen that card. I'm gonna have to look that one up real fast. As long as there are 4 or more instant and or sorcery cards in your graveyard. Okay, it's relevant now. Because Rick just lost his entire graveyard. Magmatic... As long as there are 4 or more instances and or sorceries in your graveyard, Magmatic Channeler gets +3/+1. It's a 1/3, so it becomes 4/4. It's like more fair Darcy. I want to say, because the Magmatic Channeler doesn't enable itself. Darcy just enables itself. Like, sure, it's harder to enable because you need to actually get Delirium, which means you're playing artifacts and stuff and things. But Darcy is also just 1 mana, and the Channeler is 2 mana. But the Channeler can also tap, exile the top 2 cards of your library, and then you can choose 1 and play it that turn. So play so you can get land. That's very relevant. Yeah, I feel like Magmatic Channeler is pretty much what they wanted with Darcy, but the Channeler was just too slow, and they ended up making Darcy instead. And I'm like, why? Why did you look at Channeler and were like, oh yeah, no, we need to make this more bannable? Like, I'm still pretty much convinced that Dragon's Rage Channeler is the single most bannable card in Modern Horizons 2. Some will argue it's Ragavan. I will defend this statement to the death, but I don't think Ragavan is better than Darcy. I think Darcy is just straight up the best card in the set. Ragavan probably close second. And then it kind of depends on the format. I think in Legacy it's definitely Endurance. That's better than Urza's Saga. I think in Modern, Urza's Saga might just have the edge. And then we get like Doughty Voidwalker or something, or maybe Solitude or Grief, something like that. Anyway, we have Blood Moon coming down from Rick here, which, against George, like, look at George's field. He has 2 Cavernous Souls, a Breeding Pool, and a Hallowed Fountain. This is doing so much work right now. George could potentially play a land and cast a Fury, but we already know that one of his Furies is just straight up gone. Now, to be fair, I think the deck usually plays like 3 or 4 Furies, so yeah, there are still plenty of Furies left, but at least one is gone. Anyway, we get Solitude being evoked, getting rid of the Magmatic Channeler, which is definitely gonna slow Rick down by a considerable amount. But yeah, right now, even though George is the only one with a creature, Like, what is that creature doing? Wait, am I being silly? Is the channeler not? The channeler wasn't online, of course. So Rick is at 14. I think George is at 12. I'm not quite sure how he got there. Maybe, yeah, it's just probably his mana base. I've been missing a bunch of land triggers because I've been off on a tangent again, but it's fine. This board is not going anywhere, and it's not going anywhere real fast. 13. George has a clock, technically. Not a fast one. Okay, he lost his clock. It's like, goodbye. Now we have the Liliana. Rick is hellbent. George is not hellbent, but there's a blood moon. He might as well be. Rick drew a card. Thoughtseize. Okay, so Solitude and the Foundation Breaker here could probably end up doing something. Yeah, the Foundation Breaker. No, the Foundation Breaker only only destroys artifacts, right? It destroys enchantments. Oh yeah, but you need green mana. Fair enough. I think Rick decided, you know what, I want to make sure that when I draw a threat, it doesn't get exiled. Which, yeah, no, that's fair. You just get rid of the Solitude. This Foundation Breaker isn't doing anything right now, unless George like top decks a forest, which it's not impossible, but that's not easy. Unclaimed territory being discarded by George here, which is going to put him to 9. Foundation Breaker now getting discarded off the Liliana, and this is pretty much garbage time for George here. The only problem here is that Rick needs a clock. Oh, that's interesting. Rick played that Blood Crypt tapped. Like, the old ruling was that even with the Blood Moon, it comes in tapped, but they changed that a while ago. I'm not sure if Rick actually knows that, but yeah, no, they changed that with the new ruling. Under Blood Moon, you can play a shock untapped without losing life. So just a little thing for those of you watching. Maybe there's someone out there who didn't know. So there you have it, and we're going game 2. All right, game 2. Let's see if my voice holds out for this game, because as of late I've been feeling my throat kind of getting sore after just a day of talking or doing anything. Anyway, we have no mulligans, everyone at 7. We're having a look at George's hand as soon as Rick decides to move to the side. I see Ephemerate, I see Endurance, I see Voice of Resurgent, a second Cavern of Souls, and second voice. Okay, so we have 2 voices. And of course, I start talking about my voice when there's 2 Voice of Resurgence on screen right now. Yeah. What's the take here? Maybe it's Ephemerate? No, it ends up being Endurance. Can't quite make out what Rick is holding, but Endurance is definitely a good card. Doesn't die to Bolt, but it does get pathed. It's possible that Ephemerate was a decent target here, though George didn't have the mana to cast Ephemerate. No, fair enough. Getting one of the voices might be a thing you could do. Because you are going to be able to bolt that. But it is going to make an elemental. So that's a 1/1 elemental. And you know that George is going to play another voice. And if you bolt that one, now there's suddenly 2 elementals. And those elementals can get out of control really fast. Voice of Resurgence is a pretty scary card in some situations. Looks like voice comes in tapped. And I mean, no, the Sacred Foundry comes in tapped, and the elemental is gonna come in for 2. Yeah, second one dies. Second elemental comes in. Now these elementals, they grow equal to the amount of creatures you have on the field. So they see themselves and they see each other, so they're both 2/2 at this point. But every creature George plays means they both get 1 bigger. You're putting an extra 2 power into play. Putting an extra 1 power into play. Prismatic Ending, gonna get rid of one of those tokens. Quite handy there. George not playing a creature. Oh, this is scary. Because now there's no pressure on Rick here, and Rick can just start doing something. What can he do? 3 mana, play a Seasoned Pyromancer. Start fishing for better threats. I mean, technically Seasoned Pyromancer is a threat, but it's a 2/2. It's not very impressive. Gonna discard 2 Blood Crypts, draw 2 cards. I see Inquisition. I think I saw Ragavan, which is going to have to wait a turn. And there is still a... I think it's a Terminate in Rick's hand. The Terminate is probably gonna help him find an opening against George here. Okay, George gonna fetch a basic forest. Not gonna get mooned out of this game again. This time he's able to cast the Foundation Breaker should that happen. But we'll have to wait and see if that's even a thing worth considering here. Also interesting to note that George had the Foundation Breaker in the main and not in the side. He might have a second one in the side, but yeah, we've had a period where everyone was playing Blood Moon decks. I mean, we've seen 2 games with Blood Moon for just this night alone. So with Fury coming out, exiling Flamekin Harbinger. Gonna get rid of the Seasoned Pyromancer, put a threat into play. No, not put a threat into play. Wait, no. Ephemerating the Fury, which does put a threat into play. Now George suddenly has a pretty scary clock, actually. The Fury, 5 mana, 3/3 with double strike, very relevant. And whenever it enters the battlefield, deal 4 damage, divided as you choose among any number of target creatures and or planeswalkers. So, doesn't go to face. That would make it insane. Because that, in this state, that would mean Rick is actually at 9 instead of 15. That's incredibly relevant. But, yeah, still pretty good. Absolutely. It's gonna get terminated. Probably a good call, because that's presenting 6 damage Presenting 7 damage because of the elemental token. Ephemerate not gonna be cast off the evoke. Not the evoke, the rebound. Because the only legal target is the token, and you don't want to kill your own token, so just leave the ephemerate in exile. Keep the threat on board. Rick's like, wait, how does that work? Just reading it real fast. Yeah, it's a bit strange. We don't actually have to. You don't have to cast a card off rebound. You may. Of course, normally you would want to put it in the graveyard for... What is it? Eternal Witness shenanigans? I don't think there is an Eternal Witness in George's deck, but that's usually how Ephemerate's being played. Unless you're playing Pauper. In Pauper, it's... you have either the Archaeomancer or the... What is that? The wall. I forgot what it's called. How can I forget what the wall's called? I've played it. I've played Blue-White Familiars. Anyway, Ephemerate's just a fantastic card in Pauper. It's a fantastic card in Modern. Surprised I haven't seen it that much in Legacy. But yeah. Also worth mentioning the Kahira here. Gives elementals +1/+1 and vigilance. I forgot the +1/+1. I realized it had vigilance, but somehow I forgot it had +1/+1. Yeah, Kahira, just a really good lord for a deck like Elementals, which is now all of a sudden just really relevant here. It's also a good lord for cats, nightmares, dinosaurs, or beasts. But like those decks need more help than Kahira can give them. Let's be honest here. Magnetic Channeler coming out for Rick here. I'm not sure if it has the full-on display of power and toughness. If it does, it could, in theory, attack. George could choose to double block. No, instead, Rick is going to discard a land, exile the top 2 cards of his deck, which are unfortunately lands. I think Rick might have... He might... The Channeler might be a 4/4. But I think Rick decided not to attack, to just try and find an answer for one of these creatures and then be able to attack, forcing the other creature to chump block. Something along those lines. I'm not sure. Ragavan and one of the elementals is going to block the elemental token, which is going to take off a bunch of pressure here. It's a great release valve. Doesn't attack. Goes for the top 2 cards of his library again. Just finds the second Ragavan. Okay, yeah, no, that... Sure, no, I'm not even mad. I'm not mad at all. Silent Clearing gets exiled. Ragavan is Is it gonna get dashed? No, right? It is. To be fair, Kahira is 3/2, so they do trade. It does look like that is what is happening here. And just Rick being able to get rid of the the Kahira here is it's just great. Looks like we have a bit of a camera issue here, where the camera is kind of taking a mind of its own and just rolling with it. It's like, yeah, no, it's my time to shine. No, it's not your time to shine. I want to see that graveyard. You dumb thing. Come on. Work with me here. George's life total is somewhere off screen. It's fine. Rick hasn't really been pressuring George all that much. I mean, he is fetching now, so... You're probably... he fetched before. He should be at 18, right? Yeah, I think he is. He fetched for a forest, and he fetched for a plains. The Sacred Foundry came into play tapped. Yeah. I think the Hallow Fountain came into play tapped as well. I don't know. We'll make it work. Rick gonna fetch. Rick is at 7. This is still anyone's game. Rick's life total is pretty low, but he's the one who actually has threats on the field. Like, still activating that thing for value. I think the time for Blood Moon has pretty much passed. Rick would seem to agree. I think Rick has the mana to stomp and cast it. I think that is what is going to happen. Now, the elemental token, Rick's elemental token attacks is going to get blocked by the endurance, and that's going to turn off the magmatic channeler here. It's thinking about it, it's possible he didn't attack with the channeler because he was afraid of getting blown out by the endurance, which is fair enough. That is very much a possibility. And if that was the case, then yeah, because now at least he still has the 1/3 that can start digging for actual cards. We have another Voice of Resurgence coming down from George here. Another great hit here. Just George releasing an album of his greatest hits right here. Endurance, Voice of Resurgence, go. Rick looks like drew something. Might be a Liliana from the looks of it. Liliana would be great here. Is that a Blood Moon? Okay, he's gonna swing in for 4. Could end up trading with the Endurance. 3 toughness, so the Voice doesn't actually kill it. No, instead decides to take 4. And Blood Moon coming down. Now, Blood Moon does turn off a bunch of George's lands, but he still has 1 green and 1 white. So there is still the potential for a Foundation Breaker, but there are a lot of cards that George could have here that are now just... they're not an option anymore. So yeah, maybe Blood Moon is fine here. Gonna swing in. Rick going to 4. Gonna draw a card. Two mana. Gonna play another Channeler. I think Rick is keeping up blockers at this point. Yeah, because the Voice doesn't actually do anything when you have a 1/3 blocking it, so that makes sense. Now I think we might see one of the channelers being activated if whatever Rick drew wasn't good enough. Yeah. Wait. No. Are they 4/4 right now? Is that thing on? That's incredibly scary. What? And no, I think they are 1-3. But he just wanted to put 1 point of damage on it so the lightning bolt would kill it. But George had the ephemerate after combat damage was already given. Actually, no. George decided not to play the ephemerate because he wants to keep a double attack open here. Fair enough. Fair enough. If he drew an answer for the Bone Crusher Giant, then he could just swing in for lethal right now. He doesn't. We're gonna draw a card. Thinking about tapping this. Is gonna discard Ragavan. Top 2 card. Oh, that's good. Does mean he loses one of his Kroxas, but that's fine. Like, he's not on the graveyard plan at this point anyway, because he knows Endurance could be just around the corner. So we get a stomp on the Voice of Resurgence. We get the second Bone Crusher Giant. Gonna swing in with the first one. Are we? I think that's probably fine. George decides not to block, then he still has some life left. Does in fact not block. And that's kind of rough, because now George does have a 2-2 and a 3-4, but Rick still has the initiative, just on the fact of having double Bone Crusher Giant, being able to improve some of his draws with the Magmatic Channeler. Flame King Harbinger coming down from George here. That's probably a really good draw here, because he has plenty of red mana to use. Fury going to the top of George's deck. That could potentially end the... No. Could it? I don't know, maybe. Yeah, no. Yeah, no, because with the Harbinger, the Elemental token is now a 3-3. The Harbinger, I think, is a 1-1. Doesn't really matter. Yeah, it's a 1-1. But that doesn't really matter. George could evoke or just hardcast the Fury and try and push damage through. Now with the Seasoned Pyromancer, that's maybe not as easy as I made it out to be. But if Rick's draw there was anything less than gas, then George would just untap, play the Fury, and probably just end the game right there. But thankfully, we do have a Seasoned Pyromancer coming out here. I wonder what Rick's draws are here. I'm thinking the Fury is most likely going to kill one of the Bone Crusher. Actually, maybe not, because targeting the Bone Crusher Giant... Wait, I gotta look up Bone Crusher Giant. Maybe doesn't with the triggered ability? Right? Because, yeah, Bone Crusher is when it becomes the target of a spell, but it's not a spell, it's an ability of a creature that just came into play. So, no, you don't actually lose the life off of targeting the Bone Crusher Giant. Rick is thinking of casting something? I think it's a Ragavan, and the other card is a land. Did he tap his lands and then not do anything? That was happening here. Okay, the way he did it, I know what he did, but just the order of operations on that Ragavan. Ow! Like maybe he said it out loud, but that hurt. That physically hurt. Rick, if you're watching this, like it's all in jest. It really is, but please no, not like that. Please, please no. Okay, so we get a swing with everything. The Elemental and Endurance are going to trade with the Bone Crusher Giants. The Harbinger trades with the Ragavan. I think George took one from the Channeler. Now Fury comes down, and unfortunately Fury does 1.2 little to actually clear both of these. Decides to go for the Magmatic Channeler. Probably a good idea, because that really smoothens out a lot of draws. If you take the Seasoned Pyromancer, then Rick suddenly just gets 2 1/1s. There may have been, before Rick's combat last turn, I think there was a world where Fury was maybe something you kept in hand for a more wide board clear, but after that attack, yeah, no, you just play the Fury. You get rid of one of the creatures, you attack, you get rid of the other one. Looks like Rick is holding 2 lands, and now it needs to be the top deck. Force of Vigor is gonna get rid of Blood Moon. If I were George, I would have waited until... Wait, was that during... No, that was during Rick's end step. Was it? Okay, I don't know what the timing was on that. Never mind. Unsettled Mariner coming in. Seasoned Pyromans are getting exiled. Gonna make two tokens. Gonna untap, take the turn. Blood Moon coming straight back down. But like Blood Moon is just delaying the inevitable. Rick needs to draw something like this coming turn, or he's just dead either way. George coming in with everything, needs to jump the Fury. Rick goes to 2. Foundation Breaker getting rid of the Blood Moon. And now Rick needs to draw something. And he doesn't. And we go to game 3. May the magic gods have mercy on my voice. Now, for game 3, we're gonna have to consider the clock. This video is already 37.5 minutes long. I cut out some dead air off the sideboarding, so I'm not sure how much time they have, but I cannot imagine they have a lot of time, and we might be looking at a draw here. That game 2 was really long, but a lot of back and forth, so... Like, those are the games you play Magic for, right? Those really tight games. Both players are drawing cards, hoping they draw better cards than their opponents. That's like some really generic, pseudo intellectual bullcrap I'm putting out there. That's fine. You know what I mean. I like grindy games. I like top decking because it kind of smoothens out the kind of inherent variance that's in Magic. Like, the more variance you're able to cut out by just extending the game, the more your decisions actually end up mattering in the long run. That's what I find really interesting to watch. Did Rick forget to draw 2 cards of that Seasoned Pyromancer? I think he might have forgotten to draw 2 cards. Wow, Wow, that's a thing to forget because he did discard. He did make the elemental token. Like this is just regular rules enforcement level. But if this was competitive, I mean, who cares if this isn't competitive? Like, you're just missing a straight up draw too. Wait, did he? Is he holding 3 or is he holding 5? Or is he holding 4? I don't know. I've completely lost the plot here. Help me out here. Prison Reef coming in. Gonna go to the hand. Yeah, I think he just straight up forgot to just draw the 2 cards off the Sea's Pyromancer. Okay, that's a thing. I mean, this game is probably not getting finished anyway, but Omnath being discarded to evoke Fury is gonna wipe Rick's board. It's an elemental, so George gets a Risen Reef trigger. I know you're looking at that prismatic. I mean, it could be collective brutality as well. Yeah, you have options here. Collective brutality is gonna get rid of the Risen Reef, is going to escalate, discarding the prismatic ending. He draining George? Or is he going for the discard against a creature tribal deck? You can only discard like an instant or sorcery, right? I mean, you get a free look, I guess. And looks like we are in turns now, yeah. Yeah, that's the way this game ends. It's gonna be a 1-1 draw in the finals between Rick and George. George's gonna play in an endurance. I mean, who am I kidding? You guys are caught already. But I'm just gonna keep talking. I know I have been hammering this game that my voice is kind of rough right now, but I'm just gonna keep talking. It's fine. I'm gonna make this finish, ASMR finish. And Rick is at 19, plays engineered explosives for I don't know how much. There's no dice, but he did pay mana. Looks like there is 3 counters on the engineered explosives. Because at 19, George looks like still at 17. There's a swing for 3. And that is turns, and we're going to end on a draw here.